Hey guys, what's happening? Welcome to iNVision Prototypes. I don't know if you guys can hear the thunder, but hopefully we can get this video done before things get crazy outside. It's pretty dark and the clouds are really coming in fast. We've got some news for you today, but before we get to that, I'm going to talk about a question I've been seeing in the comment section quite a lot from you guys, and that's about the missing panels. It wasn't me. So in regards to that question, let me get this out quicker. These panels haven't been thrown out, they haven't been stolen, somebody hasn't taken off with them, they've just been stacked up neatly in the corner. We'll form up a panel, clamp it, mark everything, and in order for us to work in this area, we'll pull this panel off so it doesn't interfere with us, and then we'll take and bring the tube back later and clamp them on. So you might see a panel on the car for 1 or 2 videos, it'll be gone for a video or so, and then you'll see it back on. And that's just part of the process. That's the beauty of having a wireframe buck. You can repeatedly clamp and reattach the panels in the exact same location they were at before. Hopefully this thunder doesn't last too much longer. Now about that news, I got so involved and so excited in forming up this top fender section here on this side of the car that I forgot to do something. So I'll bring you guys in, show you what's going on here, and then explain what happened and then how we can fix that. And if the power goes out, so be it. The English wheel doesn't need power to run. Just your arms and hands and back and shoulders and all that stuff. Let's get started. And as you can see, we've got this driver's side fender section clamped to the buck. That's looking really nice, really smooth. We started the blending process into this rear panel, well, the panel ahead of the door here. So we started working on that, and we've actually started hemming the panel over the cut line for the hood. You can see how that's turning out. It's quite nice. So the hood will end here, we'll have our 3/16 gap, and then the fender will start. And then we'll have to create a support structure to hold this up, and that'll come down inside the engine compartment to the structure inside there to hold the fender. These little bite marks you see, they're going to be gone. But we have this nice sweeping reverse curve, and that was quite a feat to accomplish that all in one panel. We had to do a lot of stretching through here, a lot of stretching through here, some shrinking through here, just to attain that. Those shrink marks are going to be cut away, and we'll blend the side panel of the fender into that. So luckily this car has 2 sides, so I'll get the second top section for the passenger side wheeled up on video for you guys. So we got to make this panel look just like that up there, except the mirror opposite. So we have to do some shrinking through here, do some stretching over the wheel, over the headlight area and the wheel area, and then where it meets up with the hood line, we got to do some stretching through there. And this is where it blends in with the area just in front of the door, this notch here. So that has to be fine-tuned once the panel has more shape than just a flat kind of wavy sheet. So let's get started. It doesn't look like much is happening. It looks like I'm just pushing it back and forth, right? But I'm stretching that whole flange. You can see the waviness starting to happen. So that's not a problem right now. That'll all go away afterwards. I'll show you what's happening as soon as I pull this out. Okay, so we've stretched the heck out of this area through here. We haven't gone into the root of the reverse curve yet. We have to start stretching the area over the wheel, the headlight area, and get that to come up. Because this area here is now fighting this, and that's what's causing these waves. And you can see the protective oil that's being squeezed out. So we're applying quite a bit of pressure to achieve that nice curvature. Yeah, I can take this and go to the sandbag and hammer the heck out of it, pre-stretch everything, wheel it out, but I'm just not feeling it today to start hammering. So I'm using the wheel to stretch. That's why my wheeling direction is a lot different today. Normally I'll wheel it horizontally, but because we have so much going on in terms of curvatures everywhere, that it would be really, really difficult to get that wheeled up like that. See what's happening with the panel? Starting to curve around. Now we don't want to stretch this outer edge because it has to start rolling down and start blending into the outer fender area. So if we stretch that out, it's going to come out straight. So by stretching this area through here, that's going to come down. And you see the pressure right now isn't too great because I was able to slide the panel back in. So the other fender side took 3,281 passes to get the shape we needed. I'm just kidding. Okay, so that's good there. Give this a bit of flex. This is where the rubber wheel comes in. Because I can take and just pop that in and not kill myself on this panel. Okay. Do a little more wheeling and we'll clean up the anvils because the oil is really coming out. Okay. So you can see we're starting to get that nice curvature over the top of the fender, and then this is rolling up into the flange for the hood. Right now I think what I'm going to do is get the rubber wheel in and reconfigure this curvature through here. And then we might do some shrinking. A lot easier than trying to bend this by hand, just with a rubber wheel and an anvil. As you can see, we are slowly getting to where we need to be. But it's still too flat through here, and we don't have enough arc through this area, especially the front, because it really dives down at the front to join up with this lower panel. So we still have a ways to go. Even though I have a radius through here, I put a nice flat anvil in there just to give us a uniform stretch, because you have to be in control of your panel at all times. I'm staying away from this area through in here. I'm just coming up to about there and stretching all that. By stretching this, that'll push that down. That's called an oil can, where you trap some material, it has nowhere to go except up and down. It can't go out. If I stretch the edge out, that oil can will just vanish. Okay, all gone. You have to visualize the panel up here as to what you want it to do before you even start wheeling it, because if you don't know where you're going to be pushing material, you won't get very far. As an experiment, you can take a piece of paper and roll it basically into a U shape, and then try bending that and see what happens with that paper. That'll tell you a lot. If I use a high crown anvil, I'd have a whole pile of ribs through here and they wouldn't look as nice. This is smoothing out quite well, and well, there's no tracking marks anywhere. Okay, I think we're going to stop there. Okay, let's see how this looks. So with that curvature here, that's looking pretty nice to about here. There's quite a bit of material around this edge that we can be trimmed away afterwards. See where the flat bar is. We still have quite a ways to go to bring that down. So this has to come down, and this won't come down until we stretch this. And we might do some shrinking in here yet, but I want to keep pushing things around until it kind of sits where it needs to. And then as a last resort, we'll do some shrinking in here, because this is very difficult to get right. And the back there, that's still up in the air because this flange is it's laid over too much. So we have to roll that up. So we'll have to switch anvils into a rubber wheel and do that. But for now, I'm going to develop this, and then we'll go back and move that later. All right, 13.5 minutes later, we get this panel wheeled up and clamped to the buck. And it looks, at first glance, quite nice, but there's still quite a bit of work involved. The curvatures are coming in, you can see that. This flange is still too angled outward too much, so we're going to trim some of that away because we only need about 3/4 of an inch to roll down inside. We still need to work this front edge. The side is coming in well to blend in with the side panel. A bit of a flat spot right in through here, but it's fitting the buck at this point, not too bad. There's about 3 inches extra material here that I've allowed so that we can wheel up to the point where we need to finish the wheeling and then not worry about jumping off the edge. If I trim this back, it'd be really tough to finish off this edge. So I leave it a bit long, wheel up to where I need to, and then we trim off that and roll the edge. And you probably saw this little wrinkle here. That just means that we don't have this properly stretched through here as well as here, and this is just kinking. To the untrained eye, this might not look much different than it did 5 minutes ago. We weren't able to take and bring this panel down to the buck earlier. So you can see the extra curvature that we gained just by wheeling it and working these areas. And I did do some shrinking to bring that down and inside, but well, after we clean it up, you don't really see much going on there. Now that reflection line you see down coming through there, that still needs to be cleaned up a little bit. But what I'm focused on right now is getting the main shape installed. And overall, that's looking really nice. Now I'm going to take and start trimming away the excess material across the top there, and we might actually start rolling that over. If I can sneak in here, there you go. You can see how close we're getting to the buck there. This here has to be brought in a little bit more, but we are really, really close. So right now, I'm going to take and scribe the top, scribe this through here, and start removing material. All right, so we have this panel trimmed and clamped to the buck with a number of clamps, more so than before because we're going to use the buck itself as a hammer form. This flat bar, we'll back it up with a dolly, take this hammer, and basically take that edge and roll it over that flat bar. And the reason I'm doing it this way instead of taking it to the tipping wheel is the buck is holding the panel in the proper alignment. If we went at the tipping wheel, it'd be an arbitrary shape. This panel will kind of flex this way and that way while we're working it. And we'd still have to take and clamp it to the buck and finish that edge off. Here we're kind of killing 2 birds with 1 stone. But you can't do it all in one shot. So we're going to go back and forth a number of times, roll it over, and we should be successful. Now I'm going to take and just smooth out this top edge here, bring it down, kind of sharpen up that radius because it is kind of soft. So we've got this flat bar in the way up here, so we can't go any further than that. When the hood structure comes out, we'll finish that off. But that came out quite nice. Afterwards, we'll take and do the same thing for around this headlight area. This front has to be trimmed up. So this is the driver's side. I'm just comparing the radius. This one's a little bit deeper through here than this one. So I'll take this off, just wheel up this area, bring that up, and the rest of that should be good. Okay, so I just came back from the English wheel. I touched up that top surface there that we were working. And if I can line things up properly, there we go. So panel basically sits up on the buck on its own. And we have our original clamping marks, so I have to reclamp here. Right there, don't need that one. And at the front here, I'm not really worried about that. These little love bites, that's one of the reasons we leave the panels long, is that we can take and trim all that stuff away and we'll have one nice clean panel without having to work all that back out. So there we go. Front top fender sections completed on both sides. So now we can begin assembling the front fenders. Thanks a lot for watching and see you next Friday. Take care.